السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه من اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Inshallah, we continue with the story of Prophet Musa. We went pretty deep in the story last time. Inshallah, we'll have maybe two parts left, this part and maybe one more. So let's begin. We'll do a quick recap on what we talked about so far. So we said that Prophet Musa is born in a city that was led by the Pharaoh, who was a tyrant man, claimed to be the god and made people worship him. And we said that lived in that city was the children of Prophet Yaqub, the brothers of Prophet Yusuf. After Prophet Yusuf, they continued to live there. So they had kids and their kids had kids. So they were called the children of Israel. This is another name for Prophet Yaqub. The children of Israel continued to live in Egypt. They were enslaved by the Pharaoh, working for him to build things for him and so on, until the Pharaoh saw a dream that was interpreted to be that there was going to be a boy that's going to be born in his city that will take his kingdom away. So when he learned this, that this boy is going to be born for this year, he sent his soldiers to take all the baby boys that are born during the year and would kill all of them. Mother of Prophet Musa, she was pregnant and she kept her pregnancy a secret. And when she had her child, which is Prophet Musa, she was inspired by Allah, told by Allah to place him by the water, and that's the way that he would be saved. And when she put him there, she sent her sister after him to find out where he ends up, and he ends up by the house of the Pharaoh, and is taken by the wife of the Pharaoh, who aspire to keep the child as a son for her. So she keeps the child. She asks the Pharaoh if she can keep him. The Pharaoh accepts and allows her to keep him, and they keep him and they want to raise him up as a son. Prophet Musa, as a child, refused to be breastfed by anybody. Everybody that they would bring, he would refuse to their milk, until the sister of Prophet Musa told them about a person that she knows that would be good for him as a person to breastfeed him. So they agreed, and the soldiers went with her, and they brought her mother, which is the mother of Prophet Musa, and he accepted, of course, her milk and accepted her, and that's how Allah returned him to his own mother. Prophet Musa, growing up in the house of the Pharaoh, a fine young boy, learning different things, and he has a lot of strength that Allah had blessed him with, until one day he finds one of the children of Israel, of the children of Prophet Yaqub, is fighting with one of the Egyptians, and the Egyptian person seemed to be transgressing against this the person from the children of Israel. So Prophet Musa comes, tried to stop the fight, and he ended up striking the Egyptian, and that strike ended up killing him, which was not intended by Prophet Musa, of course. So immediately after, Prophet Musa repents to Allah, asking for forgiveness, because he did not mean to do that. Afterwards, the people start discovering that it was Prophet Musa who killed this man, and he was warned that people are coming after him, that he needs to leave the city. And that's when Prophet Musa have fled the city, left the city of Egypt, and kept on going until he arrived at the city of Midian. Okay, and the city of Midian, when he arrives there, he's very tired. He's taking rest under the tree. He's been walking for a long time, until he finds these two women who are waiting from a distance, and he sees a lot of people standing by a well, and then he goes and asks these women what they need. They say, we're trying to get water, but there's a lot of men standing and we don't want to go there. So Prophet Musa came and he helped them, and when he helped them, they went back home to their father, and they said to their father what he did for them. So the father said that he wanted to speak with him so he can thank him for what he had done. So he sent one of his daughters to Prophet Musa to tell him that. So Prophet Musa came with her. They went inside the home, and the father told him, after he thanked him and so on, he told him, I want to give you one of my two daughters in marriage, under one condition, that you would work for me for 8 years, and if you complete 10 years, that would be extra from you. Prophet Musa agrees, and he gives them the full 10 years, not just the 8. After that, Prophet Musa takes his family, his wife, and he leaves. On his way there, he sees this. He's leaving to Egypt. He's returning back home. He sees this fire, and now he wants. He goes to this fire, and he finds that there's a voice speaking to him, and that was the voice of Allah speaking to him, telling him to take his shoes off or his sandals off, because he is in the sacred valley of Thuwa, and given him some commands. He wants him to go to the Pharaoh to call him to Islam, and the Musa is like, how do I, how would I do that? Like, I'm afraid what they would do to me and so on. Allah tells him that, don't worry, I will aid you and so on. And Prophet Musa and Allah tells him to throw his stick. Prophet Musa used to walk around with a stick, like a cane type of thing. And he told him to throw it. And then that cane turned into a snake, right? And he told him to take his hand out and it would shine light. And it did. So he told him that I'm giving you these signs with you. And he also, Prophet Musa, before he left, he asked if he can have his brother Harun to aid him in his quest to call the Pharaoh to Islam. So Allah accepts, and he says, you and your brother go together. So Prophet Musa ends up in Egypt now, and he goes to his brother to speak with him, to ask him to join him to call the Pharaoh to Islam. His brother accepts. They both go to the Pharaoh. They call him to Islam. The Pharaoh rejects. Of course, they're calling him to Islam, and the Pharaoh takes it as a joke. He doesn't even take him serious, and he acts very arrogant with them. So Prophet Musa wants to show him the sign that this is from Allah. He throws his stick, and his stick turns into a snake. So hoping that this will make the Pharaoh change his mind, but it doesn't. The Pharaoh actually ends up thinking that this is magic. So he says that I'm going to bring all the magicians and show you real magic, and they'll make you lose, right? So he makes an event where he calls all the magicians and the people to watch this event where Musa is coming, Prophet Musa, and these magicians to like stand in a combat with their magic, basically. Again, thinking that Prophet Musa is doing magic, but Prophet Musa is not. This is really a snake, a stick turning into a snake, an actual thing, not magic. So after he brings the magicians have ropes, they have sticks, they throw their ropes and they throw their sticks, and they all turn into snakes. These ropes and sticks that they have thrown, they turn into snakes. So they throw first. Prophet Musa asked him, you throw your sticks and your ropes first, and they turn into these snakes. So Prophet Musa threw his stick, it turned into a big snake that ended up eating all of the snakes of the magicians. Now, the magicians were able to tell that Prophet Musa's stick, it didn't turn into a fake snake, it turned into a real snake. And that's when they realized this is from Allah, especially after, of course, the snake consumed their snakes. So they get down on their knees saying that we believe in the God of Musa. They accepted Islam. Now, when the Pharaoh saw this, he was shocked. And he told them, how could you become a Muslim, or how could you accept his religion without me giving you permission? And I'm going to cut your hands and cut your feet off. I'm going to punish you. He said, do whatever you want, but we're going to believe in the truth. We're going to believe in Allah. The people that saw this believed in Allah as well. So many people have entered into Islam. The Pharaoh, of course, to retaliate against them, he sent his soldiers to try to punish them, hurt them, to try to make them leave Islam, but they did not leave Islam. Anyway, obviously, Prophet Musa did not really have much, could not do much for them at this time. But he went to Allah. Allah told Prophet Musa to go to the Pharaoh to ask him to release the children of Israel and the believers with him, so they can just leave the city. But the Pharaoh refused, and Allah showed them some of the punishments. He sent a bunch of punishment, different kinds of punishment upon the Pharaoh and his people, which is he sent on them like the water had dried up, okay, to the point that animals were dying and plants and so on. The Pharaoh still did not care, and then Allah sent upon them the flood, again with destroying things, but still the Pharaoh did not care. Send upon them the locusts. Okay, again, all of these different signs of torments, punishments from Allah to try to make this Pharaoh stop, but he would not stop, and he would not let the children of Israel go with Prophet Musa. He sends, and then Prophet Musa, of course, is the one that's asking Allah to take these punishments away after he thinks that there may be a chance that the Pharaoh would give in. Send the hail upon them, send the frogs upon them, and turn their water into blood. You know, all kinds of stuff had happened to them until like nothing was really working. Allah gave a command to Prophet Musa, take the children of Israel and escape Egypt. And that's what he did. Prophet Musa gathered the believers, the children of Israel, and were flooding they were leaving Egypt together without the Pharaoh knowing. And when the Pharaoh discovers that they left, he chases after them. He gets his soldiers and chases after the believers. Now, at this time, they're catching up with Prophet Musa and the believers. Prophet Musa comes at a place where he's right in front of the ocean, right in front of the sea, the Red Sea. So at this time, the sea is in front of him, and behind them is the Pharaoh catching up. So the children of Israel, they're thinking to themselves, we're done. We're doomed. They're already going to catch us. Prophet Musa tells them, no, Allah is with me. He will guide me. He will take care of this. Allah will take care of this. So Allah tells Prophet Musa, use your stick. Hit the sea with your stick. Okay, hit the sea with your stick. So when Prophet Musa hits the sea with the stick, he finds that the sea splits into two big chunks of water, and then there is the land in between. So now Prophet Musa is able to walk in between these two big piles of water. Him and his followers, the believers that believed with him. When they made it to the other side, the Pharaoh is catching up finally. So the Pharaoh starts to catch up after the believers. And when this is happening, Allah brings the water back down. So the Pharaoh and his soldiers start to drown and they start to die. And obviously now they see that this is all from Allah. This is 100% from Allah. And all of their evil is coming to an end. Prophet Musa makes it to the other side. They're walking around in the desert. When he's taking the children of Israel in the desert, they find people who are worshiping idols. So when he sees when the children of Israel see these people that worship idols, they like that. They say, "Oh Musa, make for us gods like they have gods." And Prophet Musa is amazed. Like, how do you want to worship other gods than Allah? Allah just saved you from the Pharaoh and just gave you all of these things. How could you say this? He said, your God is only Allah, no one else. Right? You don't make any other gods for yourselves. Okay? So Prophet Musa continues on his journey until they arrive at a place. And Prophet Musa leaves the children of Israel with his brother Harun, and he takes off. Prophet Musa at this time is going to meet with Allah. Allah is asking him to come and meet with him. Of course, he does not see Allah himself, okay? But he sees the veil of Allah and he speaks to Allah directly, kind of like what happened with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he went to meet with Allah. Prophet Musa was gone for about 40 days, and he left the people, and he left Prophet Harun, his brother, in charge. And at this time, Prophet Harun was teaching them about Islam, staying with them, calling them to Islam, teaching them about the good stuff. A man came from among the children of Israel. His name is Samiri. Okay, this Samiri person, he started to gather the jewelry of the people, the gold, and then he boiled all this gold together to create a statue. Okay, so to create a statue from from this gold, and then he tells the people, this is your God. And he convinced them, and the people like it, and they start worshiping this gold statue that was made for them. And Prophet Harun is forbidding them and telling them that they don't listen to Prophet Harun. They don't take him seriously, and they listen to the Samiri person. Until Prophet Musa came back. Now, when Prophet Musa went to meet with Allah, Prophet Musa had, when he went to meet with Allah, he was given tablets, right? Before that, he asked Allah, I want to see you. Like, is it possible that I can see you? Can I see you? He wants to see Allah physically. So Allah told him that you cannot see me. You don't have the ability to see me. But then he told him, I will descend. If the mountain was able to handle this, you will see me. If the mountain was not able to handle this, you will not be able to see me. And when Allah descends, the mountain shattered into pieces. So, of course, Prophet Musa was not able to see Allah, and then he fell unconscious when the mountain shattered. He got a shock, right? And he passed out. And when he woke up, he realized that he cannot. So he asked Allah forgiveness for that. And then he received tablets from Allah. Allah gave him tablets that written on it everything that Allah wants from the children of Israel. The stuff that Allah wants them to do, the stuff Allah doesn't want them to do, the details of the religion, kind of like the Quran that we have. And Prophet Musa, now when he returned to the people, he finds them worshiping idols. He grabbed Prophet Harun from his beard, and he's, angry. How could you, I left you in charge of them. How did you let this happen? So Prophet Harun tells him, I tried my best. They won't listen to me. Prophet Musa throw the tablets on the ground, and he's really upset and angry about what these people have done. Telling them that your Lord is Allah only. What are you doing? And told the Samiri, you're going to be punished in this world and punished in the hereafter. You're going to see a bad punishment, and was really upset. Anyway, he picked up the tablets back up, and he asked Allah for forgiveness. So at this time, Prophet Musa, Prophet Harun, they continued on with their journey. Okay, when they continue on with their journey, Prophet Musa and Prophet Harun, they continue together. This carries on. They're teaching the Muslims, or the children of Israel, for 4 years to come. They're going to continue. There is going to be another incident that's going to happen with Prophet Musa, which is a longer incident. There's two more incidents that we're going to speak about. The incident when he meets with Al-Khidr, okay, and the incident where Prophet Musa asked the children of Israel to slaughter a cow, which is why Surah Al-Baqarah is named after Surah Al-Baqarah, and also the incident of the death of Prophet Musa. Inshallah, we'll mention all three of these next time, inshallah. So let's do a quick recap here on some of the lessons that we learned from this beautiful segment here that we have seen. So one of the things that we see here from the beginning of this segment is the everything is a test from Allah, and eventually tables will turn. The believers will win at the end, and the religion of Allah will be victorious at the end. The children of Israel were under the Pharaoh, and he was above them, and he was the king, and he was strong. But then Allah saved them from his hands, and Allah brought him right under the ocean, right? Drowning, dying, right? Turning into nothing, okay? Also, we see here that the trust of Prophet Musa is so beautiful. You see here that he comes right in front of the ocean, but yet he is not worried about anything. There is no humanly possible way that he's going to make it. Behind him is the guy who's trying to kill him. In front of him is the sea, and he has no boat or nothing. So what does he do? Is he going to fly, teleport? He doesn't have any means of dodging this. But he trusts in Allah. He says, Allah is with me. I don't worry. They start to worry. He doesn't. He trusts in Allah. And you see how Allah saves him at the end. And who split the sea? Is it the stick? No. Is it Prophet Musa? No. It's Allah. Right? He tells him, hit it with the stick, but he's the one who split the sea. It's Allah. And that's why all the miracles that the prophets perform is attributed to Allah and Allah only. Okay. So anyway, after Prophet Musa ended up splitting the sea, we see here also the how the conviction, like the Pharaoh, how many signs did Allah give the Pharaoh? Look at the sign that he's given him at the end here. Like the whole, he sees a sea split into two pieces. He clearly, this has to be from Allah. This cannot be from Prophet Musa. So what is he waiting for? Why is he not becoming Muslim? And that's why sometimes we think people need signs for them to believe, but that's not true. Sometimes no matter how much signs you show the people, they will not believe, like the Pharaoh over here. Okay, and of course you see the his evil ending. Okay, also we see here that people tend to forget the goodness of Allah. You see, when the people were saved to the other side, they completely forget that Allah is the one who saved them. And when they see the people worship idols, they say, and they ask the Prophet Musa, give us a God like they have. We want a God. We want to have a fake God like these guys. Prophet Musa is amazed. Like, how do you want a fake God? You worship Allah. That's your Lord, right? And they do end up worshiping this cow that is made of gold, or this statue that was made of gold that the Samiri built for them, right? Also, you see what happened with Prophet Harun. Prophet Harun called his people and tried his best to call them to Islam, but they didn't listen to him, and that did not change anything. He continued to call them, and that's why we don't worry about the results. Our results is in the hands of Allah. We do our best. Prophet Harun is doing his best to call his people, even though they end up worshiping a different God and they won't listen to him, but he's trying his best, right? And we see also this. The true reliance of Prophet Musa in Allah on everything that he does. Inshallah, we pause here with this story and we continue with the final segment next week. Inshallah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik.